This end of the valley controller sits in the gutter. This is the long sidewall. This is the short sidewall. The radius end fits underneath the shingles. This is the center baffle. The unit is ship blacked with the mounting screws attached. Lay the valley controller upside down on the miter. Mark the point on the long sidewall where it meets the edge of the roof. Check both sides to make sure they're the same. Trim the long sidewall off on both sides. After the long sidewall has been cut, set the unit down in the gutter. Come up to the edge of the shingles and mark approximately 1 inch to 1.5 inches above this line and this line. Then I'm going to cut this off on those lines. A notch may be required in the end of the valley controller to allow it to slide up underneath the shingles. The notch depends on how the valley is constructed as to where it is and what size it is. We're going to trim this sidewall down to 1/8 of an inch. The only time we use the full length is if there's a gutter protection that's going over the first shingle and under the second shingle and requires the extra height. The valley controller has been painted. This side has been trimmed. The notch is put in and it's ready for its final install. The valley controller is now ready to attach to the gutter. We attach it with these 2 screws. I like to start these screws in advance. It makes the installation easier for me. That's all there is to an installation. This is common aluminum leaf screen. It's installed underneath the edge of the shingle. All you have to do is butt it up against the sidewall of the valley controller. This gutter protection is installed flat. You can see how the long side closes this area off to keep debris out. This is a straight section of gutter which has a valley that runs off of at an angle. And what we're going to do is show you how to fit the valley controller when this situation is present. We've made a cardboard pattern the same size as the top of the valley controller. And we've marked the bottom edge so it'll give us our cut line. Transfer the angle from your pattern to the top of the valley controller. This angle must pass through this point. Very important. The lower end of the valley controller has been completely removed. Next, we'll fabricate a plate to close this area off. We've taken a piece of flat metal stock and we've put a 90-degree bend on it here, about 1/2 inch wide. This will sit on the top lip of the gutter. We're going to mark a point here and a point here, which will give us our length. This is the metal plate that we have fabricated to close off the area where we've removed the end of the valley controller. This flange will sit on the front lip of the gutter. The valley controller will sit on this top edge. This distance will probably have to be trimmed in order to get the proper adjustment between the height of the gutter and the height of the valley. This process, every house and every one of these that are done are a little bit different. So these are kind of the basics of what you'll have to do. What I advise you to do is just take your time, look ahead. We've attached the plate we've made to the front of the gutter with 2 screws. We attach the valley controller to the plate with 1 screw on each side. We just simply butted the screen up against this side. This area is never caulked. This design valley, in order to close this side off, we just extended the leaf screen up underneath the valley controller. After you've completed your installation, seal this seam here with acrylic sealer. Do not build the sealer up on this top surface. Just a little bit of sealer along the bottom edge is all that's required. Installing on a metal valley is very easy. Fit the lower end the same as you would for a shingle roof. Mark the center of the valley, that's the dotted line. Mark the two sides of the valley, that's the solid line. We're going to cut this on the dotted line using a pair of hand seamers, which is the easiest way to do it. I'm going to bend this up and hold it at a 45-degree angle for approximately 45 seconds. After you've cut the center line and formed the sides, this is what the Valley Controller will look like. Before you put the Valley Controller back under the shingles, trim the sidewall off completely. Lift the shingles and seal both sides. Seal across the top and the little cut that you've made in the center. Apply a little bit of sealer in this edge here to provide a ramp so that the water flows smoothly onto the surface. The Valley Controller is designed so that the points on the gutter end may be removed. If you remove the right point off the Valley Controller, it will sit to the right. If you cut the left point of the Valley Controller off, it will angle it to the left. Removing both points from the Valley Controller allow it to be attached to a straight section of gutter. If you wish to install a Valley Controller on a straight piece of gutter, remove the two lower points. That will leave you the center baffle. It's important, do not trim the short sidewall any shorter than it is. This allows the water room to flow underneath it. Trim the long sidewall to match the short sidewall. If you let us know, we'll send you the Valley Controllers without the radius. It makes it a lot easier. The blue that you see on the Valley Controller is ice. We put chalk in it so that you could see it better. The Valley Controller is made with Costrate, which is a rubber modified terrapolymer, which is stable over a wide temperature range. It's 14 degrees below zero this morning, and you can see how the part has stood up to that. Part has remained flexible. There are no splits or cracks, and nothing is deformed. When painting, use standard touch-up paints marked acrylic. Acrylic paints and sealer bond very well with the Valley Controller. You can match the roof color or the gutter color or both. If you're going to change the color on a Valley Controller, a real easy way to do it is just with a little piece of cardboard. Just use it like a little masking. That's all it takes to paint it.